So now let's move to the validation errors. So we have two components that will use validation errors. So the login and the registration. So to not repeat ourselves, let's add another folder here. Let's call it custom. And this one will contain use. So let's call it use validation errors dot view. So this component will display the validation errors. So once we get the validation errors, so the validation errors will be inside the props. So let's define the props. So not props, define props, and inside here we have the errors prop that we will receive, and type is an object, and it's not required, so the required will be false, and default value will be null. So once we get the object that contains the validation errors, so let's add a div with row margin top and bottom of 3, and a div with class called md8 and margin left and right auto, and list, and inside list let's add a margin to this list, margin top and bottom of 2, and we will use the validation errors or the errors that we will get. So let's call them, so as we have seen here, so once we get the validation errors, let's move to the Penia. So here, so each error is an array, and we need to use, and each error has the index, which is the name of the field. So we need to use the name of the field to display the errors. So here we have an object, as you can see, and inside objects we have the arrays. So let's use the v4, and we will display the errors. So let's call them validation errors, and we need also the index because we will use it, and all these errors are inside the props.errors. So now we have the props, or we have the errors. So let's add k. K is the index, and we need here to add another li. So the li, let's give it a class list group item, and bg danger, and what else we need, a text white, and a margin bottom 1, and a rounded 0, and we need also to use the v4 to loop through, because this one, validation errors, will be an array, and we need to loop through each error. So we use error and index. Also we need index. So all these are inside validation errors, and we need also to provide index as the k. And the final thing here, we will display the error. So now we have the custom components that will, or the custom hook. We can import the hooks from the React.js and use the same name here. So the custom hook. So it's inside, as I said, inside the validation errors, or here the errors. We have the objects which will contains the array of each error is an array. So here the error is the field name field, which is email name and password, and each field or each index is an array. So that's why we have here 2 for loops. Now we need to use this code to, or this hook to display the validation errors. So let's move back to the registration or the registration component here. So inside here, so inside the form, we have first input, which is the name. So we need, as I said, to use the hook to display the validation errors, and I think so let's use it. I think we use it. Let's use it here inside this div that contains call md6. Let's use it here. So we need to import it first. If not imported, we will import it manually. So the name is use. So I name it use, and I think we can use this name, or you can change it. So it's use validation errors. If you want to use the same name, you can use it. If you want, you can remove the use and use only validation errors. So let's just, I think that this one name is a little bit, so let's name it validation errors. It's better. So the name is a little bit doesn't comply with the with how we name components inside Vue.js. So let's call it, so it's validation errors. So this one, and I think we need to import it, or it's already imported, so it's not imported. So let's import it. Import. So it's validation it's not here, validation errors from, so where is it? I think that I did close the file. So its name is validation errors. So it's inside, so it's inside custom validation errors, and we can use it here. So I think the same, this name will work. Same thing if you use it with dash or use it like this, it will work. And we can provide errors as we have done before. We can provide errors, and errors are inside store.errors. So let's see what we have now. If we hit the submit button, so nothing appears. So let's take a look. So we have here the validation errors. Let's go back here, and as you can see, the name field is required, email field is required, password field is required. So let's try to add someone who exists. So I think we have John Doe. So let's submit. The email has already been taken. Let's add another one, John, and put only John. Let's submit. And as you can see, account has been created successfully, and I am redirected to the login page. Let's go back to the registration. So here we need to, when we click on submit, we need to display spinner. So it's spinner. You can find it here inside the components. So let's look for the spinner. Where is it? It's here. Let's bring it and use it. So let's copy this one, and here inside layouts. So inside layouts, let's add spinner, and spinner will only return spinner. So we don't have anything here, or I can remove these ones. We have only, so what is this? So we need only one. So I think I copied all the spinners that they have here. So let's add spinner here, and that's all. And we will use this spinner when the data is loading. So let's go back here. We have the button, this one. So here we add, let's import spinner. So it's not imported, and we will display it only if the data is loading, or if not, we will display the button, the else. So let's import spinner here, spinner from, so it's inside the layouts, spinner.view. So let's check and see what we have here. Now if we hit, so let's take a look, we don't have any errors in the console. Let's hit submit, and as you can see we have spinner, and once we get validation errors, spinner disappears. So let's use the same code to login. So we will only so let's remove the validation. The home page, we will back here again. So we will only change some things. So we will use the same thing inside login component. Let's remove this one and copy and paste the registration component. So here, where is the registration? Let's change it to login. So here, login user. And the data, we don't need the username, we don't need name, we need only the email. So let's remove this div. We keep only the email and the password. And submit button. Here we have the router, the base URL, spinners. We will use the same thing. Let's remove name, keep the email and the password. Here it will take us to the login, but once we get the response, we need to set the user. But inside the user controller here in the backend, we return. So in the backend, we returned, where is it? So here, if the user doesn't exist, we return an error. So we need to check for the error first. So we set the loading to false, and we check for the response .data.error. If it exists, then that means that this user doesn't exist, or the email or the password is wrong. So all we need to do here on the else, so the first thing we toast, or before we toast, we redirect the user to the home page. So here on the else, so we toast the success message, and we need to redirect the user to the home page, but we need to also, if we have an error here, so we need to display the error. It's error, not message, that we have defined in the backend. It's error, not message. So we display also here error message, not success. And if the login has been done successfully, then we need to store the token. So we set the current token to the response.data.current token. So we have here current token that we get, and we need also to set the user, or set the current user. So it's set current user, or only, oh, I have a missing T here. So it's set current user, not, so without, here it's without T. So it's response dot data dot user. What else we need to do? So that's all. I think that's all here. What we do here, we stored token. So here, so we did not. So here, once we get, so let's go back to. So here inside store, we are already inside the use stores or the user auth store. So we need to set here. So let's bring this one, and once we get the token, we need to store it. So let's set item, which is the current token, and use json.stringify and give it the token. So we need to store the token in the local storage. And the user, we don't need to store the user because we will get it once we load the home component. And also here, set current token. And what else we have here? So that's all here. Once we clear the data, we remove the current token. So that's all. So let's go back to the login. As I said, here we set current token and we set the current user, and I think that's all. And here, if we have any validation errors, then we store the validation errors. And I think we need to rename this one to login user, not so that we can use it in the form. So here it's login user. I think that's all. So let's try to log in and see what we will get. So let's try to log in. Let's go to login. We have here the form, submit. So as you can see, the email field is required, password field is required. Let's try to log in with a wrong password. And as you can see, these credentials do not match any of our records. Let's use the correct password, submit. And I am logged in successfully, and I am in the home page. Now I can't go back to the registration and login because I am already logged in. If we go back to the application, and here we have the current token. So we need now to display the currently logged in user and add the logout function inside the header. So let's move to the header. So now let's close this one. The home page will back again. So where is the header? This one. Here is the header. So we need now to guess the currently logged in user and display the username and logout link. So we need to import the user auth store from. So let's bring it from stars/user store.js. Now we have the user or the user store. We need to create the variable that will contain store user auth store. So now we have store. So now we have the store, and store contains the user as we have seen before. So we need to check or to test if the user exists. Then we display the username and the login out link. If not, we display the login and register and register links. So here we are checking before we enter the route, we check if the user is logged in. So we will use only if here and check if we don't have store.user, then we display the home link, the login and the registration page. And if not, and if we have, so here, if we don't have user here, we don't have user, and if we have user, so we will display the home page also. That will take us to the home page, and here we will change the login to the user or store dot user dot name. So we have here name and icon. Let's use person check field. And here the logout link, and let's add icon. So the icon will be person arrow. So I think it's not be, it's I think that they have so what was this? I think they have fill down. So this one. Let's save and see what we have here. So as you can see, we have the logout link and the name of the user. But if we refresh the page, so we don't have user and registration. So on the logout link, so we need to get the user using the token. So once we are in the or the component is loaded, we need to fetch currently logged in user. So let's fetch the currently logged in user. So fetch currently logged in user. It will be in sync, and let's bring the login just to bring the try and catch from here. So try and catch. Let's bring it and put it here. So we have already defined the routes. The routes will take us to user, and it's a get route. But this route needs the token, so the user needs to be logged in to get the token. So let's use it. I think it's a get or a post route. Let's go here. It's a get. It's default routes provided by Laravel. It's get. So it's get and it needs the token. So we will send the token later. So once we send the token, we need to do the same thing. So we don't have load in here, and we will not push or redirect the user. We will only set the token to response.data.current token. And we don't need to set the token because we have already the token. We need only to set the current user to the response.data.user. And let's remove this one. And if we have any error, we will check it. But the token has a time of expiration. If we need to check if the token is expired, and if the token is expired, we will get an error with status code of 401. So if we have this error, we need to use store.clear store data. So we need to remove the token, and the user will be logged out automatically because the token is no longer available, or it's not available anymore, or it's expired. So, and once the component is mounted, so we used onMounted. So we call the fetch. So what is this? So let's close this one. So we call the fetch currently logged in user, and we need to do that only if we have the access token. So we need to check first if store.current token. If we have the current token, then we do that. If we don't have a current token, then okay, let's remove this one. I think we need to open the curly braces and then check. So we will fetch the currently logged in user only if we have the token. So if we don't have a token, if we don't have here any current token, then we don't need to fetch the currently logged in user. So let's refresh now and see what we will get. So we have nothing here. Let's see the network, and we don't have as you can see, we did not execute this function, which is this one, which is the fetch currently logged in token, currently logged in user. But I think we have the current token. Why it did not work? So let's go back to the here. So the current token is here. As you can see, the current token is already here. So I think that I made a mistake of the name of the token. So it's same store token. So let's console and log and check if we get store token store dot current token. Let's check what we have here. Let's refresh the page, see what we have. So data is not defined, so there is something wrong here, as you can see. So we have the token is here, but the problem is inside the function. So the data is not defined. Where is the data? Where is the data? So which line is this problem? So let's inside the header. So the data.loading. So I forgot to remove this one. So this one, that's the reason of this problem. So let's refresh the page and see now if we can get the currently logged in user. So nothing happens again. Let's check the console. The Axios is not defined. So let's import the Axios. Okay, sorry for this silly mistakes. Axios from Axios. And what else we need to import? But I did not also need and I did not add the headers. We need also to send the headers, and this is another mistake that I made. I want to fetch the currently logged in user without providing the so it's inside, I think it's inside the components. So it's not inside components. So let's check where is the config file. So where is the config file? It's inside helpers and config.js. So I did not provide also the headers. So we need to provide headers with tokens. So let's go back here to the config file, and here we will add another function that will get the headers with tokens. So let's define it, export const, and let's name it getConfig, and this one we'll take the token, and the token we will use it. So what is this? So what is this strange character? So let's open the curly braces, define the config, and as I said, config will contain the headers, not this one, but this one, and the headers is an object that contains the authorization, and the authorization will be a bearer token. We'll have the bearer and the token, and also we need to provide content type, and set it to application/JSON. So I think that's all. And here we don't need to provide a row. We need the two dots. And finally, we return the config. That's all. Now we need to import this getConfig and use it to send the token to the route. So let's use it. So here we need to import it first, getConfig. So getConfig, I think it's imported or not. It's here, getConfig, and it will take the token. So the token, it's inside store current token. So now let's see if we can get the logged in user. It's refreshing. So I am redirected to the login. So let's try to log in again. So I think that I am logged out. So let's see the token here. So we don't have a token. Let's try to log in again and see if everything will work as expected. So let's hit submit. And I am logged in successfully. Let's refresh the page. And now I can see the user and log out link. Let's go back here. So we have the token and we don't have any error. Now we need to log out once I click here. So before we log out, let's adjust content for the home page. So here, let's adjust a class with container. And the div, you can add anything you want. Margin bottom of 5. And div with the call MD8 MX auto. And inside a card and a card body, and here just h5 with text center telling the user welcome. Let's take a look and see. And I think here the MX auto is not working and the card body also is not working. So let's check, and as you can see we have welcome. We can make it h4 with a margin top of 2 and see what we have here. Now it's great. So let's try to log out the user, and this is the final step of this application. So let's move to the header and add the function to log out the user. So let's copy this one and paste it here and call it log out user. And it will take us, it's a post request, and it will take us to user/logout. And we need to provide token, and also because this is a post request, we need to provide a body, so the body will be null. So just put null and we provide the token. And once we are successfully logged out, we need only to display the message, so telling the user. I think that we need also to import the toast. So okay, let's use toast. So we need to define the variable here, const toast, use toast, and don't forget to import it here. It's here. And we need to toast, where is it? We need to toast success message, and it will be response.data.message, and inside set timeout to 3 seconds, and we need before we display the message, we need to clear store data. And what else? We display the message, and we need also the router. Don't forget to import it, and we push the user to the login page. And if we have any error, we only console and log the error. So don't forget to import the router here. And once I click on the button, which is, or the link, which is the logout. So here, let's change it to, just put this here and called on click and log out the user. So let's try to log out the user and see what we will get. So let's hit log out. So as you can see, logged out successfully. If we go back here, the token disappears. We go, but we need the, so as you can see here, we have the home page. So we don't need to be in the home page. So we need to be redirected to the login. Why it's not working? So here, log out. Once we log out, we redirect the user to the login. And why it did not work? So let's try to log in again. and join the password, hit submit. So what is the problem? So now we are logged in successfully. So let's log out. So now I am redirected to the login. As you can see, if we go back to the home page, so I can't go back to the home page. So this is the project. Let's try to add another user. Submit. Account created successfully. Let's log in the user. Submit. The credentials, I think it's test email or I made a mistake. So now I am logged in successfully. I can go to the home page. If I click on logout, so let's click on logout. Same. So I am logged out successfully and I can't access the home page again. So this is our project. If you are here, that means that you did enjoy this project. So please subscribe and hit like, and see you in my next projects.